Good afternoon. I'm going to present an economic concept called the impossible trinity in this presentation. In this presentation, I will have 4 sessions. The first session, I'm going to explain that there are other names for impossible trinity. And after that, I'm going to explain the 3 goals that are present in this concept. And finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about the mechanism behind this concept, why this is called impossible trinity, and then I will conclude the presentation. Impossible trinity is known with 4 other names. The first one is policy trilemma. The second one is Maunder-Fleming trilemma. The third is unholy trinity, and the fourth is inconsistent trinity. If you can notice that every name has an element called tri, right? It's because the concept has 3 options. So impossible trinity or the policy trilemma. So what are the 3 options in this concept? Number 1 is free capital mobility. Number 2 is exchange rate management, and number 3 is monetary autonomy. The concept says that the 3 options or elements that exist in this trilemma, they cannot coexist at the same time. When countries start trading in international arena, they need to keep control of their own finances, right? And then the government, they need to make some controls. They need to work on 3 options. These 3 options that we have examined: exchange rate management, free capital mobility, or control the interest rate, or monetary autonomy. So that's the policy trilemma, right? And out of these 3 goals, let's first look at the exchange rate management. Now, the exchange rate management, why do we do that? Because government wants to manage exchange rate, because they want the export and imports prices needs to stay relatively stable, right? So for exporters or importers, right, they need to have a stable exchange rate regime so that they can make profits out of the trade, right? Now, if we look at the monetary autonomy, government would like to control interest rates, right? Because they want to keep the borrowers happy, right? That is their monetary autonomy, right? If they have the autonomy to keep the interest rate low or high, right? And they have to have that. They have to have that kind of autonomy. Now, if we look at free capital mobility, we can government also like to let capital flow in and out of the country without causing any disruptions in the economy or in the trade. But there's a problem. There's a problem that when the government do all these things at once, the economy tends to break down, right? For example, let's have a look at a policy option, policy action. Say, for example, a Eurozone, right? If they tries to lower their interest rate, right? Why do they do that? Why do they do to lower their interest rate? Because they want to boost investment and reduce unemployment. Now, the consequence is that the money will flow out to other parts of the world so that they can earn interest rate elsewhere, right? We can call it capital outflow, right? And then after that, exchange rate will drop, right? Because of the capital outflow, and that will cause inflation. Now, the government or the policy reaction is that they have to ramp up their interest rate. They have to basically keep the interest rate up to prevent these consequences, right? How about facing exchange rate and letting money flow freely across national borders, right? If we do these 2 things, then the governments do not have control over the interest rates anymore, meaning that they do not have any monetary autonomy, right? You have to think very deeply here. Then how about we control interest rate and exchange rate, right? Two things, right? If we do that, we have to stop the capital flow in and out as well. So if we look at Eurozone, we can see that they gave up their independent monetary policy, which is the monetary autonomy, right? They do not have any free choices for setting the interest rates because they want free movement of money, capital, and stable exchange rates in their countries, right? Then, if we look at China, China wants a stable exchange rates and control over the interest rate as well. So they do these two things. Then, because of these choices, China's right, they have to put control or limit on how the money moves in and out of the country. Now, if we look at United States, UK, or Japan, they want free movement of money and then control over interest rates. So they have to let the currency go up and down freely, right? So which country made the most out of the choices, right? Well, countries that aim to maintain the most of these objectives often do the most in terms of active economy management. So all three things, they cannot get all three things. Every country has to basically make two choices and disregard one choice, right? As we can see, China, for example, right? They manages their currency closely while controlling capital flows and conducting active monetary policy, whereas the eurozone, they give up some flexibility on individual countries' monetary policy, but they balances a stable exchange rate across member countries. Whereas in US, they focus on monetary independence and open capital markets, but it lets this exchange rate fluctuate freely, where they do not have control over the exchange rate regime, right? So it depends on each country's choice. On its size, economy, and global role. For example, if we look at countries like US, they prioritize flexibility and global trade influence, right? Smaller countries, they focus on stability to attract investment and maintain economic growth. Well, this is the end of the presentation. The policy trilemma or invincible trinity. Three things: free capital mobility, exchange rate management, and monetary autonomy. You have to pick one side of the triangle. You have to choose either A or B or C, right? You cannot just as a country or as a government, you cannot just have all three options at the same time. That will break your economy, right? And I guess the economists they can calculate this in mathematical terms. I don't know. It just this is the concept, and that's it. As much as you know, as long as you know the term and the idea, I guess that's fine.